Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is another Graviflyer Thoughts and Observations video number 16. It's a follow-up to video 15, which turned into a short, and I don't really think it got the exposure it really deserves. I wanted to kind of get into this. This is in response to the excellent work of Old Man Builds, and in particular, his AI translation of Alexi describing the craft itself, okay? In particular, timestamp 17 minutes and 2 seconds, he describes a radially oriented magnetic field in fast rotation gives a vertical force vector, okay? Meaning that our magnets are axially oriented at this moment, not radially oriented. It's my thought, and I described this in video number 1, that the magnets are actually radially oriented, right? With the North Pole facing in towards the motor spindle, the South Pole facing out, okay? I also described that the central disk could in fact be an electret, right? Which would coincide with a radially oriented magnetic field, which is described here on our Wikipedia page, right? When an electret is moved with respect to a magnetic pole, a force is felt which acts perpendicular to the magnetic field, pushing the electret, all right? So we're not spinning the electret, we're spinning the magnets. I think it's the same thing. So we're getting a combination of vertical lift force from the radially oriented magnetic field plus its interaction with the electret, which I truly believe the central disk is an electret. On top of that, if we look at this wonderful book here, this is from the wonderful Alan Watts. This is UFO Quest. Great book, Alan Watts, right? This is a technical primer on what he believes to be the way some UFOs work. On page 73, he's saying if you want just a straight up vertical lift force, you notice that the rotation is counterclockwise and the disk is perfectly flat, all right? What he's describing here are radial arms or wires, if you want, which have current running through them and thus creating a magnetic field around them. We're doing the same thing with magnets, okay? This is an excellent book. Also to point out, not that one, right here, we're getting the same sort of situation here, what he's calling a force arm. As the rotation speeds up, the magnetic field starts to stretch into this rubber bandy sort of thing. But also, right, what happens to magnetic lines of force when they interact with ionized clouds of particles, plasma, right? In the diagrams that help explain the theory, arrows, vectors indicating magnetic fields, forces, electric currents, right? So what he's saying here is that by high voltage AC charging that central disk, you're also getting an interaction between the magnetic field that's being created by the fast rotating radially oriented magnets and the plasma that's being created by our AC charged central disk, okay? So I think we're getting multiple interactions here. The important part, though, is the magnetic, right, orientation. That right now we're all putting our magnets on in an axial orientation, right, parallel to the motor spindle, whereas in fact, in his transcription, it clearly states that it's a fast rotating radial magnetic field. Okay, so again, North Pole facing in, possibly South Pole facing out. All right, let's see if I can stay focused here. All right, let's skip that. All right, so, you know, as far as making this electret goes, PTFE is ungodly expensive. But polypropylene works great and is very inexpensive. Having a really tough time finding tin foil that's big enough and inexpensive enough, so I'm gonna end up using aluminum foil. But my suspicion and my hopes and my research shows me that gray tin also has a diamagnetic property to it, which would hopefully assist us in this. On top of that, Alexi's video, I'm calling it video number 11, points out a very interesting interaction between opposing magnets when you place certain materials in between them. And specifically, if it's two sheets of something conductive with a non-conductor in between them, it suddenly allows you to bring those magnets very close together. Please check out Alexi's video number 11. I've looked at all of his videos, scouring for information. You know, go back, just comb through it. There's stuff there, okay? The other thing I came up with in doing my own translation, of course, which, you know, I didn't have anything available to me, so I was using a, you know, pen and paper to do it all. So right here, you can see I've written it all in Russian and then translated it. The one token I came up with was right there. Two disks become a magnet. All right, so top and bottom, positive, negative charge. Right, positive on top, negative on bottom, becomes a whole another magnet. So we're looking into that. You know, perhaps it's because they both create a toroidal field and they're opposing because they're in opposite rotation. It's another discussion. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. I think this is a key point here that maybe we've been overlooking. And in regards to that, we've come across this diagram again. Hans Keuler, right? I just picked up this intriguing book. There's all sorts of great stuff in here. But in particular, we get to Hans Keuler, right? So when you dig into that and you look at the English, went ahead and, you know, interrogated Keuler and really checked in on this guy and did a full report. You can find all this online. But I think one of the takeaways here, and it's right in here, he stated that his researches, apparently conducted with crude apparatus into the nature of magnetism, had led him to conclude that ferromagnetism was an oscillating phenomena of frequency about 180 kilohertz. This oscillation took place in the magnetic circuit of the apparatus, right? What he also wants to point out here is that it's his belief that the electron, if you want to believe in this thing, is the south pole of a magnet, okay? Who did they bring in to check out Hans Keuler's work? Winfried Otto Schumann. There's that name again. This guy just keeps coming up, man, right? I think there's a key to good old Schumann, right? So, and again, that brings us back to Mike Gamble, The Boeing Study of Gravity. If you have not read that, I would highly recommend you scour through that. What it's telling us is that gravitation is a standing radial wave, right? It's not a mass effect. And they've now proven that the Schumann resonance is in effect on other planets. Okay, I think we're going to stop right there. I've got so much more to show you guys. Yes, nothing's rotating, nothing's blowing up, I'm not frying anything, but I'm trying to put some pieces together here, and I really think that the radial orientation of those magnets may be one of the keys here, right? And we're way off the mark here. We'll get into the whole sound thing later, because this video is getting way too long. And, you know, that brings us to good old John Worrell Keely, right? And what did I find? Is not here. I will describe that in my next video in this book, because his name pops up in some declassified information after World War II. Okay, thank you very much. I started this video series to try and get some, feedback going back and forth, an exchange of ideas and concepts and things, and not really getting much, and I know my style's a bit gruff, but, give me some feedback and let me know what you think. Magnets are on the way, and I have all of my material to make my electret. I just need to come up with a barbecue that I can abuse. All right, take care, and see you later.